The CEO girlfriend suddenly realized something. Ever since I caught her throwing an engagement party for her childhood sweetheart, her broke boyfriend hadn't bothered her for 3 months. I had even vanished from the company. She curiously asked her subordinate, "Where did Ethan go? Why hasn't he been coming to work lately?" A look of surprise flashed through the subordinate's eyes. "CO Sterling, didn't you know? Ethan quit right after the security guards threw him out of your engagement party. I heard his sister passed away recently because they couldn't afford her surgery. Talk about karma." Victoria Sterling's face instantly went pale. She hadn't expected that on the day of her engagement to her childhood sweetheart, I had genuinely come to ask for help with my sister's surgical fees, not to crash the party. Victoria's family was wealthy. Yet in our 7 years of dating, she had never given me a single gift. The one engagement ring I bought her, she returned the very next day. When we went to get our marriage license, she even said the license fee was too expensive and unnecessary. Yeah. She turned around and got a license with her childhood sweetheart, eagerly renting out the whole city and booking a luxury hotel for their engagement bash. My sister couldn't handle the shock. It triggered a heart attack. I knelt on the ground, begging my girlfriend to return the salary I had given her over the years so I could pay for my sister's surgery. Instead, she held onto her childhood sweetheart's arm and mocked me. "You're punching above your weight. A lazy beggar like you thinks he's worthy of competing with Julian?" At Victoria's command, the bodyguards beat me black and blue while throwing me out. Later, my sister died amidst the sound of New Year's Eve fireworks. During the Lunar New Year, I handled her funeral arrangements alone and accepted a job offer from a global tech giant. When I went home to pick up my passport, my girlfriend, who was in a good mood after visiting relatives with her sweetheart, thought I was playing hard to get. She broke character and acted generous. "Stop pretending. What could possibly happen to your sister? Worst case scenario, I'll pay for a luxury wedding for you too." Just to satisfy her vanity. But she didn't know that from the moment my sister took her last breath, I had already decided I didn't want Victoria anymore. Just as I picked up my passport, the slender hand snatched it away from me. "What are you looking for so intently? You didn't even notice I was back." My girlfriend, Victoria, had just returned from outside, the tip of her nose red from the cold. When she realized it was a passport, the corners of her mouth flattened, and she frowned. "What are you doing with a passport? Planning to run away abroad? Didn't I tell you? Julian's family is pushing him hard. Getting the certificate with him was just to help him deal with his family. We'll quietly divorce in a while." I didn't even look up as I coldly snatched the passport back. Seeing that I was unhappy, Victoria finally used her go-to move. She took out a pink bow hair clip and waved it in front of me. "This is for Lily. Don't try to trick me with that surgery nonsense again just to get my attention. It's boring." The thought of my sister's pale face made my heart feel like it was being twisted by a knife. I didn't take the hair clip Victoria offered. I simply said coldly, "Victoria, let's break up." Before the words were fully out, Victoria interrupted me. "You and your sister are probably short on cash for the holidays, right?" She tapped her phone and transferred me $200. "Consider this money for Lily's nutritional supplements. No need to write an IOU." It was laughable. She was afraid I was a gold digger, so she made me hand over my salary and would only give me pocket money after her approval. Every time she transferred money to me, she demanded I write an IOU. After dating for 7 years, I somehow ended up in debt to Victoria. In the past, I assumed that since her family ran a company, she was just sensitive about money, so I indulged her demands. But her frugality was reserved only for me. She could drop millions on a luxury car for Julian or buy him anything else without blinking. Every time it made headlines, where her money went, her love followed. Coming back to my senses, I immediately transferred the $200 back and said coldly, "I don't need it." Victoria finally looked at me seriously, as if realizing something, and said helplessly, "Is it too little? But I promised to hold a wedding with you. That should satisfy your sister's vanity, right?" The word vanity was harsh. Yet I had forced myself to listen to it for 7 years. I just wanted to enjoy a normal life where couples exchanged gifts and went shopping. But she accused me of being vain and competitive, saying I was coveting her family's money. "No need for a wedding. You and I aren't husband and wife." Victoria's exquisite face completely fell, revealing a familiar look of anger. Just then, there was a knock on the door. Victoria glared at me sideways, then turned to open the door. I heard her voice, full of joy and excitement. "What are you doing here?" I turned my head and saw Julian standing at the door, wearing a jacket that matched Victoria's as a couple's outfit. He reached out and familiarly dotingly messed up Victoria's hair. Little princess. My friends are here today. They wanted to see what their sister-in-law looks like. Just keep me company for one more day. Okay. Looking past Victoria, he looked at me and deliberately provoked me. Finn, you wouldn't be mad. Right, you weren't mad a few days ago. Victoria and I are just besties. You know that. As he spoke, he intentionally interlaced his fingers with Victoria's, showing off the matching wedding rings on their hands. Victoria, face full of adoration, agreed quickly. What does he have to be mad about? Don't worry. I'll definitely support you. Saying that, Victoria grabbed her bag and turned to leave. After taking 2 steps, she seemed to remember me and let go of Julian's hand. She walked up, cupped my face, and kissed the corner of my lips. Don't worry. This is the last time. From now on, I'll stay with you every day. But Victoria, there is no from now on for us. I wiped the corner of my mouth hard, watching helplessly as they flirted and walked away. Then I turned around and took out my phone to pay for the order. The ticket app popped up a notification. Your purchase for the overseas flight from New York to Houston has been successfully ticketed. Departure is tomorrow at 3 p.m. Please plan accordingly. I sent the screenshot to the HR rep from the global tech giant I was in contact with. Before I could speak, the HR rep excitedly said, I'm looking forward to it. We will welcome you tomorrow. My expression softened. I didn't have love, but I could pursue my career. I then picked up the luggage I had packed earlier and walked out, not wanting to stay in this house for another second. But I ran right into Victoria. She frowned and slammed the door shut. Finn, where are you going? Julian, standing behind her, said with fake hypocrisy. Finn, please don't misunderstand. Victoria is just acting to protect my reputation. Please don't run away from home just because she and I had a little argument. I couldn't be bothered to listen anymore and said plainly, Victoria, let's break up. Victoria was about to scold me for being jealous, but she froze for a second at my words. Then her eyes widened as she lost her voice. Break up? Just because Julian and I put on a show for a bit? You want to break up with me? Do you still want that wedding or not? In her mind, she probably thought I was still madly in love with her, actually using the wedding to threaten me. In the past, I really would have bowed down and begged her to grow old with me, but I just gave a mocking smile. Victoria, I have nothing to do with you anymore. Why would we have a wedding? Nothing to do with me? Victoria's face flushed red with anger. That's not what you said when you proposed to me a month ago. You said you'd protect me forever. You even bought me a diamond ring. Saying that, she started rummaging through her bag, wanting to find that ring to slap me in the face with it. I said calmly, no need to look. You sold that ring to a pawn shop for $12,000. And then bought Julian a tie as a gift. Speaking of this, I felt the ultimate irony. In 7 years of dating, I worked side hustles constantly. Every gift I scrimped and saved to buy Victoria was basically sold secondhand by her. She said those gifts were too cheap to be seen in public. Meanwhile, she took back the diamond ring she gave me right after the proposal, saying there was no need to be extravagant and it was better to save that money for the wedding. Victoria's chest heaved violently. Her gaze swept around the house, muttering, if there's no ring, there are still things you bought me. Things I bought you. She trailed off, her expression turning ugly. She realized that in this entire house, she couldn't find a single thing that proved she and I were in a relationship. Julian, taking pleasure in the misfortune, tried to drive a wedge between us. Alright, Finn, stop making a scene. You live off Victoria, eating her food and using her things. You should be more generous and share her burdens. Victoria is at a critical moment taking over the company, so stop causing trouble. If he hadn't spoken, it would have been fine. But once he did, Victoria found her confidence. Scuffed. Julian is right. Finn, can't you be less short-sighted? Once I inherit the company, I can buy you anything. Put your luggage down right now. Or don't blame me for cutting off your living expenses. I let go of the hand resting on my suitcase, turned around, and brought out a box of IOUs. I said indifferently, Victoria, for 7 years, you gave me $200 a month for living expenses. For other extra expenses, you made me write 500 IOUs, totaling $20,000. My sister Lily's surgery and treatment fees totaled $300,000. I deposited my salary card with you. 7 years of wages amounts to at least $1 million. Please return the remaining $680,000 to me. Furious, Victoria knocked the box out of my hands. Countless EUs fluttered down like snowflakes. Finn, we've been together for 7 years, and in your heart, I'm not even as important as a few $100,000. You want something for nothing? The disgust and disdain in Victoria's tone made my voice raspy. Victoria, That money is all from my own hard work. Unexpectedly, she instantly flew into a rage, blurring out complaints. Money. 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 Is there anything in your heart besides money? Why can't you be indifferent to fame and fortune like Julian? He never asks me for anything. My mom was right. Dating a poor person like you is a waste of time. We just aren't in the same social class. Your hard work? Are you kidding me? Without me, you'd still be starving. That's all wages I paid you. I laughed self-deprecatingly. Julian doesn't fight or compete because he already has everything. He just has to stand there and do nothing. And Victoria Sterling will offer him the best things, along with her heart, on a silver platter. Seeing I had fallen silent, Victoria said ruthlessly, "But, Ethan, take your salary card back. I won't keep it for you anymore." The next second, Victoria threw the bank card hard at my face. The edge of the card grazed my cheekbone. I reached up to wipe it. My hand came away red with blood. Victoria instantly panicked. She reached out to touch my cheek, asking in a lost voice, "Finn, are you okay?" I laughed mockingly, raising my hand to block hers. Looking at the panic in her eyes, my tone was very faint. "Victoria, haven't you gotten bored of this game where the wealthy heiress plays house with a commoner? Because I don't want to play anymore." I picked up the bank card, stood up and grabbed my suitcase, then stepped right over those IOUs. Victoria seemed dazed, seeing my hand on the doorknob. She snapped out of it and blocked my way. "Finn, don't be mad. Arguments are like this. I just said things I didn't mean." I twisted the doorknob, walked out, and never looked back. When I got to the hotel front desk, I took out my salary card to pay, but the staff informed me there were insufficient funds. I apologized, then took out the $20,000 that the global tech giant had transferred to me for relocation expenses and paid the bill. After tossing my luggage into the hotel room, I checked my bank statement, only to discover my account had been empty for a long time. The payment history was full of transactions at couples' restaurants, honeymoon suites, and high-end men's clothing stores. Victoria had never spent money on couple things with me, nor had she ever bought me clothes. It went without saying who this was for. Just then, HR sent me a message. "Ethan, if you're in a hurry, come find CEO Sterling yourself tomorrow morning to get the signature." I replied with a simple okay, and slept soundly through the night. Early the next morning, as I passed the HR department, I saw Victoria's slender silhouette. HR was busy processing Julian's onboarding, flattering him. "Mr. Vance, so Sterling treats you so well. You two are such a perfect match." Julian looked smug, a vice president badge already pinned conspicuously to his chest. "Victoria, if you parachute me in directly as VP, won't people say I got in through nepotism? I remember Ethan was with you for 7 years and only made it to team lead." Victoria didn't care at all, as she fixed Julian's cuffs. She said, "You're my husband. Who dares to gossip? Unless you don't want to use my connections?" They looked for all the world like a loving pair of newlyweds, since I had run into Victoria. And to save myself another trip, I handed her my resignation letter. "CEO Sterling, please sign this." Victoria's eyes lit up when she saw me. She took it slowly, scanned the resignation letter, and gave a disappointed, mocking smile. "Making a scene about quitting? Stop pretending to have a backbone. Don't forget your sister has heart disease. Do you know how much her follow-up surgeries and care will cost? With your meager savings, you'll be starving in a few days." Julian looked triumphant. "Yeah. Ethan, don't delay your sister's life-saving treatment just to satisfy your ego for a moment." The HR rep, unaware of the situation, added, "But CEO Sterling, Ethan's sister already passed away. He asked for leave a while ago for it." Victoria froze instantly. Her fingertips holding the resignation letter trembled slightly. She looked at my flat expression and suddenly felt guilty. Why didn't you tell me?" Seeing her shifting gaze, I suddenly remembered years ago, when Victoria sat by Lily's hospital bed, looking gentle as she read her a bedtime story. I also remembered Lily holding my hand with tears in her eyes before she died, saying, "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have set you and Sister Victoria up back then." "She's a liar." The piercing pain was still spreading in my chest. I said coldly, "It's a private matter. Do I need to report that to you too?" Julian frowned, about to scold me for being insubordinate. The next second, Victoria suddenly dragged me out of the HR office. She looked left and right, then gently stuffed the resignation letter back into my hand. Stepping closer, she reached out to smooth the wrinkles on my suit, showing a rare moment of weakness. "Finn, don't be impulsive. Wait for me. Let's talk properly after work." "Okay." At that moment, Julian suddenly opened the door. "Victoria, Mom just called. She said she needs you. You should take it." Victoria turned around frantically, looking somewhat like she was fleeing the scene in embarrassment. I shook my head and prepared to leave, but Julian stuck out his foot to block me. "Then, hurry up and clear out your office. I'm moving in." The VP office and the team lead office weren't the same. I knew he was deliberately pushing me out, but it didn't matter. I was leaving anyway. And I did have things to pack. Just as I had packed my things, there was a knock on the office door. I opened it to see an employee from an auction house holding an exquisite gift box. Smiling obsequiously, "You must be Ms. Sterling's partner. This is the watch your girlfriend won for you at the auction a while ago. Please try it on." I stood frozen in place. What was this? A breakup gift? The crowd didn't hear the employee's words clearly, but they started whispering when they saw the logo on the box. "That's a Patek Philippe. Even a cheap one is 200,000. No wonder Ethan is quitting. He must have found a sugar mama." Before I could speak, the auction employee had already taken out the watch and asked for my hand, just as the strap was about to be buckled. "Finn, I know your family is poor, but I never thought you'd steal my watch under my name. I am Victoria's partner. Aren't you crossing the line?" Julian had come over at some point, looking at me with disdain. Hearing this, the auction employee was terrified and apologized profusely. Julian waved his hand, signaling it was fine, then said to me with fake sympathy, "Forget it. Ethan probably hasn't seen good things before. It's understandable to be envious for a moment, but the company can't tolerate this kind of thieving behavior." I knew Victoria couldn't possibly be this generous to me. Seeing this, everyone urged Julian to put on the watch. "Mr. Vance, CO Sterling is so good to you. She's practically a husband-spoiling maniac. That Ethan has skin as thick as a city wall. Actually having the nerve to impersonate you. I say we don't give him any face and just kick him out." I gave a self-deprecating smile. As I turned to pick up my cardboard box to leave, Victoria's voice rang in my ear. "Finn, what's going on?" Everyone jumped to defend Julian. "CO Sterling, Ethan has sticky fingers. He stole right in front of Mr. Vance. This watch is worth at least $1 million. Should we call the police?" "Yeah. Ethan doesn't deserve to stay in our company at all." Julian smiled charmingly, deliberately showing off the watch on his wrist. Julian said, "Don't listen to their nonsense. Victoria, I really like the gift you sent me." Victoria's face instantly went black. I lowered my eyes, waiting for Victoria to scold me for being vain, for being a gold digger. Instead, she shouted sternly at Julian, "Take it off." The words, "take it off," left everyone in the room with stunned expressions. No one dared to breathe loudly. Their eyes darted between me, Victoria, and Julian. They never dreamed that Victoria would demand her own husband take off the watch at a time like this. It was undoubtedly a slap in Julian's face. Even I took a second look at Victoria, finding her expression serious and not faked. I couldn't help but feel confused. Julian, who had a faint smile on his face, then green. He glared at me viciously without being noticed, but under Victoria's sharp gaze, he could only raise the hand wearing the luxury watch, his other hand rubbing the clasp. Seeing him dawdling and refusing to take it off, Victoria repeated, "Take the watch off and give it back to Ethan." The phrase, "give it back," shocked everyone even more. Had they been misled by Julian and misunderstood me? This time Julian didn't hesitate. He took the watch off cleanly, threw it into the gift box, and busied himself trying to save face. He maintained a helpless smile. "Little princess, the auction employee brought this over just now. I didn't snatch it from him." If this were the old Victoria, hearing "little princess" would have turned her into putty in his hands. She would believe whatever Julian said. But this time, Victoria acted almost cautiously. She handed the watch to me, looking guilty. "Finn, I bid on this specifically for you. I'm sorry someone else wore it first." Sensing the crowd's gaze pricking her like needles, she snapped out of it and made up an excuse. Victoria coughed lightly. "You're a veteran employee who has been with me for years. This is my year-end gift to you." I laughed at myself. No matter the time, in Victoria's heart, other people's opinions were what mattered most. I just picked up the box I had already packed and said plainly, "CO Sterling, no need. Although I've followed you all these years, we have no personal relationship. I can't accept such an expensive gift." Victoria's face changed drastically when she saw me pick up the box. Realizing I was leaving now, she lost her composure and grabbed my arm. "Finn, I haven't approved your resignation letter. What gives you the right to leave?" Julian gently held Victoria's other hand and reminded her softly, "Victoria, I know you value talent. But Ethan has already made up his mind. We shouldn't force him to stay. Everyone is watching. Calm down." Victoria's grip on me loosened slightly. Conflict showed in her eyes, and she finally whispered to me, "Finn, didn't we agree? We'll talk properly after work. I frowned deeply, seeing her like this. I really didn't understand what she meant. I wasn't narcissistic enough to think she still had lingering feelings for me and couldn't bear to see me go. Most likely, she just wanted to have her cake and eat it too. But I had sobered up. I didn't want to be her spare tire for amusement anymore. So I put down the box and took out the resignation letter again. Mr. Vance is right. Please sign this quickly. I'm really not suitable for the company. Julian urged. Victoria, listen to Ethan. You can't force a melon to be sweet. But, unexpectedly, Victoria was triggered. Fire flashed in her eyes, looking as if she had been insulted. The next second, she snatched the resignation letter from my hand and tore it to shreds, saying word for word, But your scheme worked. I admit you are my boyfriend. Please stay. Okay, hearing this, everyone turned pale with shock. After all, in their minds, I had always been a clingy leech with low moral character who pestered Victoria. I gave a sarcastic smile. CO Sterling. Stop joking. Mr. Vance is the one who got the marriage license with you. Saying this puts him in a very awkward position. Julian's face was truly ugly to behold. Strangely, I felt a sense of satisfaction in my heart. In the past, it was always me watching Julian strutting in front of me, making me feel like I had a fishbone stuck in my throat. He finally got a taste of that medicine. Victoria's expression was also incredibly ugly. She suddenly laughed. Where can you go without me? You're already over 30. What other company would want you? Don't be ungrateful. I looked at the clock in the office. This fuss had unknowingly dragged on until 11 o'clock. If we argued any longer, I would miss my flight. So I issued an ultimatum. I wanted to part on good terms, but if you force me not to resign, I'll have to find a lawyer and take you to labor arbitration. Victoria instantly showed a look of disbelief. She never expected I would be so determined to leave. The majestic, cold voice came from behind. Who wants labor arbitration? Victoria turned around and trembled all over, like a cat seeing a tiger. Subconsciously, she called out respectfully, Why are you here? Victoria inherited Eleanor's genes. The mother and daughter looked 70% alike. Eleanor maintained herself well. In her business suit, she looked 40 at most, only the fine lines at the corners of her eyes and lips betraying her true age. Hearing Victoria's address, the furrow between Eleanor's brows deepened. She said displeasedly, Do I still need to teach you how to address me in the company? Victoria pursed her lips and immediately became as docile as a quail. Chairman Sterling, Julian, however, curled his lips upward, warmly taking Eleanor's arm. What brings you to the company? Eleanor's expression softened as she smiled back. When I called earlier, I felt Victoria sounded off. I thought something might have happened with your appointment as VP. So naturally, I had to come and see. Julian immediately climbed the social ladder. He smiled. I knew you were the best to me. I knew Julian was deliberately acting close to Eleanor to declare sovereignty, bluntly telling me that he was Victoria's husband and the man in charge of the company. The people around us forgot about me completely, offering compliments. Seeing is believing. Chairman Sterling really is swift and decisive. We can only look up to you. A mocking smile curled the corners of my lips. I continued to pick up my cardboard box and walked out. Young man. Hold on. Eleanor suddenly called out to me. Her aura was majestic and her gaze sharp. She said coldly, You didn't give 1 month's notice for your resignation. Even if you go to labor arbitration, you won't get a good result. I interrupted her, giving a bitter smile. Chairman Sterling, you misunderstand. I'm not here to extort you. I just want to quit quickly. I don't want anything. Eleanor paused slightly, turning her head to look at Victoria. Victoria lowered her head silently, looking guilty, seeming to realize something. Eleanor hooked her lips into a smile, looking extremely open-minded. Why didn't you say so earlier? Victoria just took over the company not long ago, so she's inevitably a bit rough around the edges. I'll make the call. You can go now. Victoria suddenly looked up, grabbing the corner of Eleanor's clothes and begging, Don't let him go. Seeing this, Eleanor's expression turned completely cold. She shouted, It's decided. Everyone disperse and get back to work. Her chest heaved a few times, but she ultimately called me back. Young man, come here for a moment. It won't take more than a few minutes. Since the resignation was already settled, I didn't want to disobey her, so I followed her into the conference room. Victoria and Julian followed us in. Victoria looked delighted. Are you? But the next second, she was kicked right in the back of the knee by Eleanor and knelt straight onto the floor. I heard a crisp thud. Victoria clutched her knee, her face pale and cold sweat breaking out. Yet she didn't dare say a word in defiance. Eleanor scolded sternly. Victoria, Are you crazy? Before you cried and begged me, using a hunger strike to force me to let Julian come back and marry you. Now you got your wish and married Julian? Yet you're getting entangled with someone else? You're two-timing. She pushed Victoria and shouted, apologize to Julian right now and promise never to do it again. I laughed at myself. So, during those 7 years with me, Victoria had never once given up on the idea of being with Julian, from start to finish. I was just a pastime to kill time. Julian pretended to want to help Victoria up, advising incessantly, it's fine. It's my fault for coming back too late. Victoria will settle down in the future. Victoria just trembled, her lips shaking as she said, it's not like that. Ethan stayed with me for 7 years. Her words were incoherent and unintelligible. For a moment, perhaps even she didn't understand what her obsession today was for. She was finally legitimately with the person she had longed for. Why was she still unsatisfied? Watching this scene, the lake of my heart was unexpectedly calm. I knew Eleanor wasn't putting on this show in front of me to play the strict mother disciplining an unruly daughter. Sure enough, the next second, Eleanor took out a checkbook, wrote down a number, and handed it to me. Although she was small in stature, looking up at me, she was very arrogant. Don't play hard to get. Take the money and leave my daughter. The further, the better. Never come back. Victoria froze instantly. I silently counted the zeros on the check. 10 million. A whole 10 million. If only I could have had this money when Lily was critically ill. But it was too late. I gently took the check. The light in Victoria's eyes dimmed inch by inch, as if she had lost all her strength. But I just tore the check in half, placed it on the table, and said plainly, Chairman Sterling, no need. I've already bought a plane ticket abroad. I'm leaving today and will never come back. Eleanor showed a look of surprise, but quickly composed herself and nodded. She manipulated her phone for a moment, and a system notification sounded on my phone. I was already in a resigned state. When I walked out again, everyone's eyes subconsciously gathered on me. Eleanor forcibly pulled Victoria along, smiling with a formulaic smile. Victoria and Julian have been having a little lover's spat recently. If she said anything strange, I hope everyone won't spread it. It's all a misunderstanding. Everyone showed thoughtful expressions indicating understanding. Taking this opportunity, I went straight downstairs, took my luggage, and took a taxi to the airport. When I arrived at the airport, there were only 10 minutes left before boarding. I let out a long sigh of relief. Although some time was wasted, everything was finally proceeding according to plan. But next, my phone was blown up by call after call from Victoria. I hung up, and she called again, seemingly very urgent, but I just backhandedly added her to the blacklist. The next second, she bombarded me with text messages. Where are you? Which airport? Which flight? I'm coming to find you right now. Stay where you are and don't move. Wait for me. I felt baffled, even a bit annoyed, so I moved my fingers to send a text. Victoria, we are over. Then I blocked her directly. After waiting a while longer at the airport, the boarding announcement played. There were quite a few people on this flight. I was queuing behind with my suitcase. Just as I was about to pass through the gate, a gasp came from behind me. I subconsciously looked where everyone was focusing, and then a petite body threw itself into my arms. Victoria hugged my waist tightly. She seemed to have run very fast, gasping for breath. Looking up at me, she smiled broadly. Let's elope. Her face was flushed from running, and her hair was scattered over her shoulders, looking very messy. In the deep of winter, she radiated cold air. The face I used to never get tired of looking at. Why did I find it so unappetizing in my arms now? I frowned and pushed her away, trying to keep my voice down. Victoria, sober up. You have a husband and a career. Stop making a scene. Victoria, head rushed with adrenaline, hugged me tightly again like an octopus. No, I don't want Julian. I don't want the company. And I don't want any inheritance. Let's elope. Let's go somewhere my mom can't find us. The onlookers, not knowing the truth, thought we were a young couple about to start a long-distance relationship and showed teasing smiles. Bro, your girlfriend can't bear to let you go. Why not just take her with you? Yeah. Career is important, but so is love. Good women like this are rare nowadays. Hearing this, Victoria blushed slightly, her voice softening even more. Do you know, when you left, I was so scared, I almost thought I'd never see you again in this life. Her sweet nothings were melodious. If it were the old me, I might have been moved to a mess. But now, I said calmly, aren't you afraid of your mom? She has connections everywhere. What will you do when she finds you? Victoria screamed like she was triggered. Don't mention her. She's a crazy woman. She found a social climber herself, and now she blames it on me. If she hadn't gaslit me, saying no one loved me and they only loved my money, how would I have lost you? Saying that, she took out a black card and placed it in my palm like a treasure offering. Actually, I've wanted to give this to you for a long time. From now on I have no reservations with you. Give me one more chance to love you. Okay. I knew Victoria's madness today was the final eruption after years of suppression by her controlling mother. I treated her for so many years, but in the end, I couldn't help her walk out of the shadows in her heart, nor could I make her open up to me. I shook my head and sighed, stuffing the black card into her pocket. Then I took out my phone, ready to call the police. Just then, another group of people entered the airport. Eleanor led the way, followed by Julian, with a dozen black-clad bodyguards behind them, staring covetously at Victoria. Victoria was hugging me tightly at first, but with just one look and a crooked finger from Eleanor, she trembled all over and walked over obediently. Eleanor gave me a smile devoid of warmth. Victoria has been spoiled by me. Don't mind her. I hope you have fun on your trip abroad. I knew Eleanor was hinting for me to never come back. Looking at Victoria, who was now docilely bowing her head while being led away by Julian, I suddenly felt she was quite pathetic. Her resistance was so feeble in front of Eleanor. Goodbye forever, Victoria. Turning around, I passed through the gate and boarded the plane abroad. Lily's ashes were in my suitcase. Looking at this city where I had lived for over 30 years, I waved goodbye. Gently stroking the suitcase, I seemed to hear Lily say, "Wherever Big Brother is, that is my home." Upon landing, HR welcomed me enthusiastically and found me a cemetery with an excellent location to bury Lily. The female CO offered me a salary of $1 million a year. Unlike Victoria, this female CO had climbed up step by step on her own merit and had high renown in the industry. She looked at me and smiled. "When I saw you at the banquet 3 years ago, I knew that one day you would join my team." I nodded and threw myself wholeheartedly into work. Seeing Victoria again was half a year later. She walked out of the conference room smiling, wearing a business suit and red lipstick. Alongside CO Ada, Victoria smiled slightly. Director Carter looked surprised. "I came to sign a contract this time, a big order worth $50 million. Ada smilingly asked me to attend to Victoria. I frowned hard and asked Victoria what exactly she was doing here. Victoria smiled slightly and backhandedly pushed a paper contract toward me. I said impatiently, "This isn't my responsibility." Victoria smiled, stuffing a pen into my hand as if claiming credit. "Take a serious look." I looked up slightly and froze. The name of the contract was a company transfer agreement. I stood up abruptly from the chair. Victoria smiled, a smile that gave me the creeps, to hug me, acting as if she were very happy. "You don't know, to kick my mom completely off the stage these past 6 months? How hard it was for me to endure the nausea and playhouse with Julian. Now I'm handing the company over to you on a silver platter. Do you know my true heart now?" I just felt Victoria was crazy. I tore the contract to shreds and said sternly, "Victoria, I have no relationship with you anymore. Please don't come and destroy my stable life. Because of this incident?" I was clearly distracted when I got off work and went home, until a piercing car horn suddenly sounded in my ear. The next second, I was pushed to the ground. The world became dizzy, and a ringing sound occupied everything. After a long time, my senses returned to normal. I blinked my eyes, only to realize a car accident had happened nearby. Lying in a pool of blood was a petite woman with black hair. Her eyes and brows were soaked in blood, but I recognized her at a glance. Victoria. The ringing in my ears got louder. I stumbled over and checked her breathing. Although weak, it was still there. Thankfully, there was a hospital not far from this block. The ambulance came quickly, and the police came to take a statement. They told me the driver was drunk and had swerved onto the sidewalk. It was Victoria who pushed me away, but she got sent flying. In the hospital, Victoria's lips were pale, and her head was wrapped in thick gauze. The doctor said Victoria was lucky. It was just a mild concussion and exhaustion. She would be fine after resting for a while. Out of humanitarian spirit, I had to take leave to take care of Victoria until she woke up. To be honest, she saved my life. No one wouldn't be moved by her action. But back then, she did so much to chase Julian. Now that she was finally with him, why did she go to such lengths to find me? Just as I was pondering, her eyelashes trembled, and she woke up. Before I could speak, she grabbed my hand. "I've already divorced Julian. The news just hasn't broken yet. Don't hide from me," because her emotions were fluctuating too much. Her head split with pain, and she squeezed her eyes shut, but her hands still gripped me tightly, seemingly afraid I would just run away. I found it funny and asked her back, "Victoria, do you treat marriage like child's play?" After speaking, I put her hand under the blanket. Seeing her panicked expression, I explained, "I'm going to find the doctor to check on you." She finally relaxed, looking at me with pitiful puppy eyes. I didn't go find the doctor. After leaving the ward, I contacted Julian directly. As soon as the call connected, I heard his gritted teeth. "Finn, are you calling to show off? Don't think that just because Victoria is attracted by your hard-to-get act now, you can become the Sterling family's son-in-law. You wish." How ironic. Did he think everyone was like him, aiming for the title of a rich son-in-law? I simply said, "Victoria got into a car accident. Come pick her up." After that, I went to get the doctor. The doctor told me Victoria was recovering well and could be discharged after 2 more days of rest. Victoria pouted, looking a bit unhappy. "Now that I'm better, Finn, you won't take care of me anymore, will you? You've finally become good to me like before. I don't want to leave the hospital. If I knew this, I should have just let the car paralyze me." Hearing her crazy words, I just felt it was absurd. The old her liked to throw tantrums, but she was 30 years old. How could she still be so childish? I handed the peeled orange to her hand. "Stop jinxing yourself. If you were paralyzed, Mom wouldn't let me off the hook." She seemed very disappointed, picking at the orange peel with her fingers, and placed the orange on the table like she was sulking. I showed no reaction, just picked up my briefcase and said coldly, "Julian will come to pick you up tonight. I'm going to work." After speaking, I turned and left. Hearing Victoria shouting my name in exasperation, cursing me for having no conscience, Julian was decisive. That night, I handed over to him at the hospital, but as soon as he entered the ward, punched me, his eyes bloodshot. "Finn, nothing good happens when you get close to Victoria. Why do you always linger like a ghost?" Looking at Victoria, who looked nervous and scrambled out of bed to block him from me, and then at the indignant Julian, a mocking smile curled my lips. Acting out a soap opera in front of me? The script of deep affection and a broken mirror reunited might be nice, but I didn't want to be the backup male lead. I kicked Julian in the stomach, threw Victoria's medical record at him, and said coldly, "Julian, control your own wife." I originally thought that after Julian took Victoria back, it wouldn't take long for Victoria's interest in me to fade. Once she got used to my absence, she wouldn't come looking for me again. Who knew she would squat downstairs at my company every day? With Julian buying her hot coffee to warm her hands, they practically became a bizarre local attraction. Today was even more ridiculous. A stretch Lincoln Park downstairs. Eleanor had actually come. Victoria stubbornly refused to leave, drawing crowds of onlookers. So Ada saw this scene and laughed heartily, asking me to handle it so it wouldn't affect the company's image. Speechless, I went downstairs and walked up to Victoria. The wind was biting. Victoria pushed her mother away. She rubbed her cold fingers and asked me with some joy, "Finn, do you forgive me?" I just said, "Chairman Sterling is here. Go back with her." Victoria's face instantly fell. Eleanor's dark pupils were incredibly deep. She threatened in a flat tone, "Victoria, do you really think I'm that easily toppled? If you don't want the company anymore, stay here. I'll find someone else to manage it." Hearing this, Julian instantly panicked. He tugged at Victoria's sleeve and begged, "Victoria, it's been so long, we should go back. Ethan isn't worth you doing this." Hesitation flashed in Victoria's eyes. She looked at me, then stiffened her neck and said, "If you don't give it to me, then I don't want the inheritance. I just want to be with Ethan. Ethan is different from my biological father. Whether I'm rich or poor, he won't despise me." This sentence stabbed right into Eleanor's heart. Back then, Eleanor had judged poorly and recruited a social climber husband. Later, the social climber cheated and even drugged the mother and daughter, almost murdering his wife and daughter. For the first time, I saw the always composed and elegant Eleanor show a ferocious expression. She sneered, "Fine, don't regret it. Julian, come with me." Ignore her. Julian hesitated for a moment, but still followed Eleanor. I looked at the abandoned Victoria and felt a massive headache coming on. Eleanor meant what she said. She froze all of Victoria's bank accounts. Victoria had no choice but to sell her luxury goods. Because her English wasn't very good, she could only do basic labor, washing dishes. Watching the chilblains on her hands grow and her fingers become harder to bend, I could only persuade her time and again, telling her I didn't love her anymore and asking her to return to China soon. But she interpreted it differently. Looking sweet, "I know. You're doing this for my own good. It's okay, I don't feel it's hard, I want to fight for us. I'm my mom's only child, she will definitely soften. When the time comes, you come back to China with me, and I'll transfer all assets under my name to you. Okay, I had to say. She really was delusional. The old me was willing to tolerate everything about her like taking care of a child. Only now did I realize how selfish and terrifying this overgrown child was. At this point, I had done my duty. I stopped asking about Victoria's life and focused on my work. Because of my outstanding performance, Ada promoted me directly to vice president with an annual salary of $5 million. The whole company sent me their blessings. On the day of my promotion, Victoria was waiting for me downstairs. She somewhat cautiously gave me a tie, saying specifically, "Happy promotion. I bought this with a month's wages. Try it on." I took it gently. The light in Victoria's eyes brightened inch by inch, and she couldn't stop smiling. Then I turned around, grabbed a passing colleague. "Selling this tie for $50. You want it?" The colleague laughed. "This brand isn't cheap. You really selling to me?" I nodded, then exchanged the goods for cash with the colleague. Watching this, Victoria's face went pale. "How could you?" I chuckled softly. "Victoria, isn't this exactly how you treated me for 7 years? Do you think there's any possibility for a future between us?" Victoria looked at me with tears in her eyes, then turned and ran away. The next day, I heard from the restaurant where she worked that she had returned to China. Not long after, news of her divorce broke out domestically, but she never had any rumors again. She became a female CEO that everyone in the industry wanted to curry favor with, and her life and mine gradually became parallel lines that would never intersect. Then,